The sea holds secrets, vast and deep. For centuries, sailors have whispered tales of phantom vessels, spectral lights on the horizon, and ships that sail without a living soul aboard. But some stories are more than just whispers carried on the salt-laced wind. Some are warnings. This is the tale of the Sea Serpent and its crew, who found a ghost ship not on the waves but beneath them. It was a moonless night in the heart of the Atlantic, the kind of inky blackness that swallows the stars. The Sea Serpent, a sturdy fishing trawler, cut through the calm, black water. Captain Eva Rostova stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the endless expanse. Beside her, First Mate Liam scanned the sonar, his face lit by the green glow of the screen. For days, the nets had come up empty, and the mood on the ship was as grim as the weather forecast. Suddenly, a strange luminescence began to emanate from the depths below. It wasn't the familiar bioluminescence of marine life. This was a soft, ethereal, blue-green light, pulsing with a slow, rhythmic beat, like a giant heart slumbering in the abyss. Liam called out, "Captain, you need to see this. The sonar is going crazy, but it's not a reef. The shape is all wrong. It's like a ship." Eva rushed to the screen. Liam was right. The outline was unmistakable. A massive, old-world vessel, a galleon from a bygone era, complete with towering masts and a high, ornate stern. But it was impossible. No ship of that size could be floating just a few dozen feet below the surface without having been detected before. The light intensified, casting a ghostly glow on the underside of the Sea Serpent. The crew gathered on deck, their faces a mixture of awe and fear, staring down into the glowing water. "It's rising," someone whispered. And it was. The ancient ship, draped in glowing algae and spectral light, began to ascend. Water cascaded from its rotten timbers as it broke the surface, silent and majestic. There was no creak of wood, no groan of strained ropes, only a profound, unnatural silence. The galleon was a relic, its sails tattered remnants that barely clung to the masts, its wood blackened and swollen with age. Its name was still visible on the bow, carved in elegant looping script: the Silent Majesty. A strange compulsion seized the crew of the Sea Serpent. It wasn't just curiosity, it was an irresistible pull, a siren's call emanating from the ghost ship. Against her better judgment, against every instinct honed by years at sea, Captain Eva gave the order. "Liam, get the boarding party ready. We're going over." The Sea Serpent drew alongside the Silent Majesty, and the air grew cold, thick with the smell of ancient decay and briny deep. As Eva, Liam, and two other sailors, Marco and Chloe, crossed the gangplank, a heavy sense of dread settled over them. The deck of the Silent Majesty was slick with a glowing slime. Everything was eerily preserved, yet clearly ancient. Cannons stood ready, ropes were coiled neatly, but all were covered in centuries of marine growth. The silence was the most unnerving part. A ship this large should have been alive with the sounds of wind and water, but it was as quiet as a tomb. As they moved toward the captain's cabin, they began to see them. Figures stood at their posts, motionless. A lookout in the crow's nest, a helmsman with his hands on the wheel, sailors poised as if ready to hoist a sail. Their clothes were from the 17th century, now just rags clinging to their forms. Their bodies were decayed, skin stretched taut over bone, hollow eye sockets staring out at an ocean they hadn't truly seen in 300 years. They were skeletons, yet they were standing, waiting. Chloe let out a stifled scream as she approached the helmsman. His jaw was locked in a rictus grin, and as she got closer, his head slowly, impossibly, turned to look at her. His empty sockets seemed to follow her every move. The other figures began to stir as well, their movements slow and jerky like puppets on unseen strings. They weren't attacking. They were simply watching, observing the new arrivals with an ancient, silent hunger. Inside the captain's cabin, they found a logbook lying open on a grand oak table. The pages were miraculously preserved. The ink was faded but legible. Captain Eva began to read aloud, her voice trembling. The log belonged to a Captain Velis, who wrote of a cursed treasure and a mutiny. In his final entry, he described making a pact with a whispering abyss to save his ship and his command. He and his crew would sail the seas forever, their souls bound to the vessel, waiting. The final line sent a chill down everyone's spine. We are eternal, bound to the silent majesty. We no longer need the wind, only the sea. But our numbers have dwindled in the lonely centuries. We wait for new hands to share the watch, new souls to sail with us into forever. As Eva read the last word, the cabin door slammed shut. A low, guttural moaning echoed through the ship, a chorus of desiccated throats finding voice for the first time in ages. The skeletal crew outside began to move with purpose, their bony fingers reaching out, not with malice but with a chilling sense of invitation. They were surrounding the boarding party, hemming them in. Liam drew a flare gun, a desperate, modern tool against an ancient curse. "Back to the ship, now!" he yelled. They burst out of the cabin. The skeletal crew shuffled toward them, their empty eyes glowing with the same blue-green light as the ship itself. Marco stumbled, and a skeletal sailor caught his arm. The touch was like ice, and Marco screamed as a spectral coldness began to spread through his body. His skin paled, and his eyes glazed over. Chloe and Liam dragged him away, but it was clear something was terribly wrong. Marco's movements became sluggish, his gaze distant. He was being claimed by the ship. They fought their way back to the gangplank, the silent moans of the damned crew echoing in their ears. They were a recruiting party, and they were not taking no for an answer. Back on the Sea Serpent, they cut the lines, the engine roaring to life. As they pulled away, they looked back at the silent majesty. The skeletal crew stood on the deck, watching them go. And among them was a new figure, standing stiffly, staring blankly. It was Marco. He had joined their eternal watch. As the silent majesty began to sink back beneath the waves, its ethereal glow fading into the black, Captain Eva knew they had escaped, but they had not won. They had left one of their own behind, condemned to an eternity of silent sailing. They had looked into the heart of a sea legend and found it to be terrifyingly real. The ocean keeps its secrets well, but sometimes, on the darkest nights, in the loneliest stretches of water, those secrets rise. They rise with a ghostly light and an insatiable need for new souls. And if you're lucky, you'll be fast enough to sail away. If you're not, you'll join the watch. Forever. Thank you so much for watching. Stories like these remind us just how much of our world remains a mystery. If you enjoyed this journey into the deep, please hit that like button, subscribe for more tales from the unknown, and ring that bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay curious and be careful what you find in the dark.